Welcome, Algebra 2, to Lesson 2.3, Slopes of Lines. Today's essential question is, how do you find the slope of a line? Now, why is that important, so to speak? Well, slopes actually, first off, we know slopes from things like roller coasters. All right. We know them also from skiing and driving and everything like that. So slope is something out there. Now, necessarily, you're not going to find it all the time. But if you get into a field that deals with engineering or even trends, another word for slope is rate of change. Okay, that is another word for slope. So slopes can also be your salary, which everyone should be getting a job at some point. So your pay over time can be represented by a rate of change or a slope. Now, the slope formula. So M equals, alrighty, y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Y2 and y1 are coordinates, and everything comes from two coordinate points. So x1, y1, x2, y2. That's a big dash there. Should just be a little comma from there. All right, so some things, I just wrote that down. Write that down. That is your formula. Try and memorize it. Why is M the letter for slope? I do not have a very good answer or reasonable answer for you. Some mathematician before I came along decided to let M be the letter for slope. Okay? The key thing is make sure your Y's are in the numerator and your X's are in the denominator. Okay? Students mix those up, and then you'll get an opposite answer, and you don't want that to happen. Okay, types of slopes. We are going to see rising slopes. And those are lines that go up, and they are positive numbers. So things like positive 5 and so forth. Falling slopes. Those are going down. Those have negative numbers. Okay. Horizontal. And those slopes, so right across, have slopes of 0. So M is equal to 0, 0 is equal to M. That's a key one there. And vertical slope, key thing with that is it's undefined. Okay, vertical slope is undefined. Very important thing not to mix up those two. Horizontal is 0, vertical undefined. All right, so types of examples. One way you can find slope is from a graph. So if you have a graph, you can also think of slope as rise over run. Okay, so we're looking for the rise over the run. The rise is the vertical distance up and down. The run is the horizontal distance. So if we pick one point, okay, and we pick another point that's nice, okay, don't try and pick one that's not on a coordinate point here or an axis. It's just easier. From this first point, okay, we are just going to count. It rises 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the rise. And it runs, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the slope is 4/5. Okay, that's all the slope is. So it rises 1, 2, 3, 4, and it runs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, That's really about it. So that's an easy way to look at it from a graph. I'll also show you can use the formula if you're not positive. So we can certainly use our little rise over run trick here. So we are looking at this first point. Now think we're going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And since it's down, we're going to think it's -7. Okay? Then we go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Since the fact that it's already down, you don't need to do a -4. The fact is it's -7 over 4. Another way to look at this is if we take this point, that point was 1, 2, 3, 4, -4, comma 3. And we take the next point, which is 0 over 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. And we use our formula, y2 minus y1, we should get the same thing. So if we take y2, and it doesn't matter necessarily which one we use, let's use 4. So if we take 4 and we subtract y2 minus y1, well, y1, sorry, this is a -4. That's going to make a difference. And we subtract 3. And we then have x2 minus x1. Well, that's 0 minus -4. And as we simplify this, -4 minus 3 is -7 all over 0 minus -4 is +4. Notice we get the same thing. Sometimes you'll be given a graph, sometimes you won't. Okay, so that right there is just another way to find it. So examples where I just give you the points. Now I'm also going to ask you, does the line rise? Is it falling? Is it horizontal or is it vertical? Okay, so between each adjacent questions, determine which line is steeper. So that's the second part. We're going to see which line's steeper, this one or this one. First off, we're going to take and find the slope. So that's y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. All right, it doesn't necessarily matter, but try and get in the habit just for yourself to go through. So we're going to do 16 minus -20 all over 13 minus 10. And it's all being careful. Notice how 16 and 13 are above and below one another. They should match up like that. Okay, 16 minus -20. Okay, you really shouldn't need a calculator, but hey, it's okay. 36 over 13 minus 10 is 3. So we get a slope of 12. Since 12 is positive, it is rising. Okay, so a 12, a rising slope. Number 4, -7, y2 minus y1. I always put my negatives and values in parentheses for the second number there. 4 minus 14. Here we have -7 minus -1, which is -7 plus -1, which is -6. Divide that by 4 minus 14. That's -10. Our slope then, -6 over -10, is 0.6 or 3/5. So again, it is rising because it's positive. Okay, so the negative over negative cancels. Now, which is steeper? Okay, which is steeper? And that was the second part. So a good way to think of this is, well, if we think of this slope as 12 and 3 over 5, so which graph has a steeper slope? We can actually graph them both in the calculator. That's one way to look at it. Think of this as 12x. Okay, so if we type in the calculator, y is equal to 12x. And in the second graph, right below it, if we type in 3/5 x, and you hit graph, it's going to graph first the 12 and then the 3/5. And we're asking which one is steeper, which one would be a harder climb, okay? So the first one was 12. That was, if you notice, right here, is the 12x. That's pretty steep, okay? The 3 over 5 is a little more less steep. So the steeper one is 12x, okay? 12x is steeper. So 12 is a steeper slope. I like to think that graphing is really the best way to visualize it, at least, as to which is steeper. For the next two, so 5 and 6, let's take a look at 5. Negative 11 minus negative 15 all over negative 5 minus negative 5. So now we are comparing these two problems, which is steeper. Negative 11 minus negative 15. It's really negative 11 plus 15. We end up with 4. Okay? All over negative 5 minus negative 5. Well, here we get 0. Now, little curveball with this one. So I'd like to try and show you the curveball so you know what to look for. 4 divided by 0 is undefined. Okay? So what we have here is a vertical line. A vertical line, undefined. A vertical line is undefined. Check out that song. It's going to be stuck in your head now. You're going to be in the grocery store or just playing sports, and that's going to come to mind. The vertical line is undefined. Love it. Vertical line is undefined, 4 over 0. Anytime you have 0 in the denominator, that's going to happen. Okay? So we have an undefined line there. Let's take a look at 6. Alrighty, this time, negative 10 minus negative 10 all over negative 7. Minus negative 16. Here we have 0, negative 10 minus negative 10 is positive, or negative 10 plus 10, all over negative 7 minus negative 16. I did sneak that little negative in there, minus, and that's 9. Now here, it's 0 divided by 9. Now that's 0. So the difference is we have 0 over 9, which is 0 just in general, and that means it's a horizontal line. Horizontal line. So if 0 is in the numerator, it's a horizontal line. So vertical line is undefined. It doesn't really rhyme for the next one. All right, now which is steeper? We're looking at comparing a vertical line with a horizontal line. I don't know about you guys, but if I had to climb something, or if I didn't want to climb something, it would be the vertical line. So vertical line is always going to be your steepest option. Okay, vertical line is undefined. Horizontal is slope of 0. Alrighty, let's look at some challenge problems. Okay, so can you find the value of x or y so that we have the given slope? All right, so now I'm giving you the slope and you're solving for x. So let's check out these problems. So again, just remember m is equal to y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. All right, so now slope is a negative 3. So I'm going to substitute that in for m is equal to, it doesn't necessarily matter what you pick for y's, just be consistent. So I'm going to stick with this being y2, and then this being y1. All over x2, which is just our letter x, minus x1. All I did, substitute everything in. Now just start to simplify, okay? Don't get scared too much right away. All we're doing is going to simplify the numerator here. So really, negative 3 then is equal to negative 5 minus negative 2, which is negative 3. It's negative 5 plus 2 all over x minus 6. So what we have is negative 3 is equal to negative 3 over x minus 6. Now we still want to solve for x, and you can do this, okay? I believe in you all. Just follow along, and we'll go from there. So it's tempting to just add the 6 over and so forth, but we can't necessarily do that right away. So instead, what we're going to do is just a little trick here. So I'm going to think about this as I want to get that denominator into the numerator. So I'm just going to multiply each side by a quantity, x minus 6. Same thing that the denominator is. Okay, so as I do that, what's going to happen is on the right, those will cancel. And on the left, I'm going to want to distribute the negative 3. So it's going to be negative 3x plus 18 is equal to negative 3. Okay? Subtract the 18, because we're going to solve for x. So that's negative 21 is equal to negative 3x. And then you would divide by negative 3 and get x is equal to 7. Okay? Now, it's been a while. The last stuff, guys, you know it's been a little easier. So take on this challenge, okay? Learn something a little bit new. Here we're solving for a missing value. Maybe in the future you're missing, okay, x can oftentimes be your hours of work and so forth. But your missing value, you solved and found it there. The key thing, just take your time. Notice I multiplied by the entire denominator as a quantity. And you'll have practice with these, and you'll get it down. Just be careful from the get-go. All right. So x equals 7. That is the missing point. Next one. X comma 0 to 8, slope of negative 1. So let's plug everything in. Slope of negative 1. That just means negative 1 is equal to. All right, our numerator is negative 8 minus 0, y2, y1, all over 2 minus x. All right. So let's just begin to simplify. Negative 1 is equal to negative 8 minus 0 is just negative 8. That's nice. All over 2 minus x. We still have this funky denominator thing. Well, the funky denominator thing, let's just take care of that by multiplying by 2 minus x. Left and right. Let's just draw a little line here. Distribute the negative 1. So it's negative 2 plus x is equal to negative 8. And then, if you add the 2 over, we have x is equal to negative 6. Boom, 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 boom. If you ever wanted to check Well, if you plug in -6 back into here, and you use our good old slope formula, you shall get -1. So you can certainly check your answers. So those are the challenge ones. Okay. Last problems are some word problems. Now, they are word problems, I know, but they're really not bad. So, Heidi made a ramp for her dog. I did have a friend named Heidi, and she did make a ramp for her dog because it had a hard time walking to help it get in and out of the house. Now, the ramp extended 20 feet horizontally, 10 feet vertically. What's the slope of the ramp? So, again, they're word problems, but they're really not bad. So, you can certainly draw yourself a picture. Now, 20 feet horizontally means the ramp is going this way 20 feet. 4 feet vertically means that up and down it traverses 4 feet. So there's the ramp she's building. And you can draw a little dog in there. But it wants to know what the slope is. And just think, slope is always rise over run. So the rise is 4 feet. The run is 20. So we have a slope of 4 over 20 is 1/5. Okay. Or you can think of it as also 0.2. But that's it there. So you can also represent it for every foot vertical the ramp goes 5 feet horizontal. Okay. So that right there just means 1 foot vert, 5 foot horizontal. Okay, rise over run. Again, so rate of change. Brian is working at the cafe for 4 hours. Then that time he made $39 before tax. What is his hourly rate? Okay, so in this case, rate of change again is another way to represent slope. So here is our x value, there's our y. One way to think of this is simply, so rate of change, especially with money, it's going to be your money earned over your hours. Okay, and that's your rate of change. So for $39 over 4 hours, 39 divided by 4 is equal to 9.75. Okay, with money, it's fine to use decimals. And that is my rate per hour. Okay, so those are the types of slope problems, at least for now, to be concerned with. Not too challenging, hopefully. I'd say the most challenging part for today are problems like 7 and 8. But great job, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. Longer notes today, but you guys can do it. Great job.